Alright, so, for Dunker's birthday, his family takes him skydiving. The graph below, or the graph shows Dunker's height above ground as he descends. What does descend mean? Decrease, goes down. So if you don't know that, right here by descends, put you a little note, goes down. Descends just means it's decreasing. So if you don't know that vocabulary. And then we have our little information there, and problem A. What does the y-intercept mean in this context? Circle in this context. Alright, so what you got for me, Brayden? At the start, he is at 13,000 feet. Absolutely perfect answer. Absolutely perfect. The only thing that I would have added to make that even more perfect, if we're talking about English, I would have put Dunker at the start. Dunker is at 13,000 feet. But he, that pronoun, you're fine. Okay, part B. Is the relationship proportional? Yes or no, everybody?
No.
No. Who can raise their hand and tell me why? Yes, RJ? Because he doesn't start at what? At the origin. Oh, did you hear that vocab? Origin. I love that vocab. Part C. What does the slope, rate of change, mean in this context? So circle in this context. And in order to write out what the slope means in this context, we've got to figure out what the slope is first. So I'm going to go to my ordered pair. This is 0, 13,000. And then another good point, I'll use this one because that's where I saw. So I'm going to go straight down to the x-axis. This is 400. Then I'm going to go over to the y-axis, and that's what, 11,000? Notice I did not put commas in my ordered pairs except for the one that separates the x number from the y. You do not put commas here. You do not put comma there. You just put the one comma that separates your x value from your y value. Then I'm going to write them over here. Remember, I've had a couple people, you are literally, if you are on your iPad, you are literally copying it and pasting it over there, because I still have a couple of you that is doing this. If you copy and paste this on your iPad, is it going to end up like that? No, then you cannot do that either. Remember, copy and paste. You're just copying and pasting it over there. We're going to copy and paste over there. Label your columns with your X and Y. That will help you to remember which one is the X and which one is the Y. And then we're going to do Y sub 1 minus Y sub 2 over X sub 1 minus X sub 2. Y sub 1 means I'm going to go to what column? Which column, the X or the Y? The Y column, and then sub 1 means I'm going to use the first or second number? First. Minus Y sub 2, that means I'm going to go to what column? The Y column, and sub 2 means I'm going to use the second number. Now these are my Y numbers. Here's my Y axis. What label is located on the Y axis? Elevation, and the elevation is measured in, so I'm going to put feet. X sub 1 means I'm going to go to what column? X. And then sub 1 means am I going to use the first or second number? First number. X sub 2 means I'm going to go to what column? The X. And then sub 2 means I'm gonna use the second number. And these are my x's, so I'm gonna go to my x-axis, and that is labeled time, and what is the time measured in? So I'm gonna put seconds. You could put the word time, but then when you write it out to mean what it means in this context, it's really not gonna make much sense. So when you can, put in there what it's measured in. 13,000 minus 11,000 feet is 2,000 feet. 0 minus 400 seconds is negative 400 seconds. What am I going to do to my leading numbers? Divide. So 2,000 divided by negative 400 is negative 5. Okay. For some reason my brain was saying negative 50, and it took me a minute to figure it out. Since that's a whole number, that's what we're going to use. But remember, in Savas, if it's not a whole number, you just need to simplify the division problem. Now, is this going to be seconds per feet or feet per second? Feet per second. So, what's it mean in this context, Aaron? Dunker's elevation decreases by 5 feet per second. Absolutely wonderful. Absolutely. Part D. Write an equation to represent Dunker's height, y, so that tells me that's what I gotta start with, above ground after any number of seconds x. So his height above ground is decreasing 5 feet every second. Now, did he start at 13,000 feet, positive or negative? So we would put plus 13,000 feet. This is your y-intercept, label it please, if you haven't done so already, which is your start. And this is your slope. This is the number of seconds. Part D or E says use the equation to determine how long it will take Dunker to reach the ground. Circle, use the equation. Yesterday, when you guys were doing this on the other worksheet, guys, when it says use the equation, you're literally going to copy the equation down. I had some students that were changing the equation. Is this a copy of what I wrote up here? So remember, copy and paste. Only with your pencils. So it says, use the equation to determine how long it will take Dunker to reach the ground. Well, if he is on the ground, what is his elevation? 0. So if he's on the ground at 0, which one is going to have him be at 0 feet? The X or the Y? The X. Well, would his elevation be 0? So that is the Y. So we want it when his elevation is 0. Find your equal sign and dot it. Put your finger on the variable. Is your variable isolated? No. So we got to use those solve equation skills. So how am I going to get rid of the 13,000? The opposite. Because we want to get rid of it, so we're going to use the opposite. Combine your like terms. Now, put your finger back on the variable. Notice we just have a one-step equation. Is the variable isolated? So now we need to tear that -5 away from the x. So what am I gonna do? Divide. Divide everything by -5. What is that? It's not gonna be negative, it's gonna be positive, because a negative divided by negative is a positive, right? So, it will take Dunker 2,600 seconds to reach the ground. To write this in an ordered pair, I would use 2,600 for my x, because this literally says 2,600 is x. And then my 0 is my y. Go ahead, you two.